Hello everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back to my channel. Right here on YouTube, the Cheryl Hubbard Show. Glad to see you. Glad you could be here. Glad you can join me. So first I want to say, first giving honor to God. God, I want to thank you for everything you have done in my life. Thank you for waking me up this morning, starting me on my way. God, thank you for praying for me and my family, blessing me and my family. Prayers out to everyone around the world. Wherever you are, Monday morning, June 15th, 2020, wherever you are, prayers to you, your family, and God bless all of you. So today, I want to talk a little bit about constitutional law. Constitutional law, and I want to talk a little bit about intellectual property. My last video I did, I believe it was a day or two ago, I did a video on contract law. So today I want to talk about constitutional law. So let's get started. Let's get started. So first, I want to define constitutional law. Constitutional law is a body of law which defines the role, powers, and structure of uh, different entities within a state, namely the executive, the parliament, or legislature, and the judiciary, as well as the basic rights of citizens and in federal countries such as the United States and Canada. The relationship between the central government and state, provincial, or territorial governments. So that's constitutional law. So every state has their own constitution, and then we have one big body constitution that governs everyone, and that is the Constitution of the United States of America. So let me see. Right, it says, and the Constitution that governs the United States of America, it says the U.S. Constitution is the highest law in the land, and the foundation on which all of us, on which all U.S. Law has been built. Allows every area of government, civil, criminal, and administrative law to evolve with the needs of society. So a lot of us probably haven't even, we might have read the Constitution back in the day, but the Constitution of the United States of America. I would love to read it again. So I have my book right here, and it's constitutional law and criminal justice system. So this is one of the books that I think I had this book when I studied at I don't think it's a Strayer University book. I think this is I think I'm taking an online course. I think you know what, this book came from my paralegal. Yeah, my paralegal course, legal assistant course that I took. That's where this book came from. So I had several law books when I had several courses that I took when I did my paralegal diploma. So let me see what I have next. So just want to read a little bit out of the book. Okay, see, a foundation for understanding constitutional law. Constitutional law. No other subject affects our daily lives as does the Constitution of the United States of America. Each of us can go about our lives in a fairly predictable, safe way because the guarantees and freedoms assured by our Constitution. Within the Constitution lies our guarantee of personal freedom, and yet how many Americans, those who are protected by this document every moment of their lives, know much about it? Most have never read it. Few have studied it. Even fewer take the time to contemplate the implications of this incredible document. One many have died for, while others continue to risk their lives to be able to be able to live under it. Dare we say most Americans take their Constitution for granted. When you walk into any law library, the sheer volume of material is overwhelming. Yet to remain law, every one of these books must balance ever so delicately on that one other much smaller document, the U.S. Constitution. This is a heavy burden for the Constitution to bear, yet it has done so admirably for more than 2 centuries. And all you have to do to see that it continues to do so is to maintain an awareness of current events. And the American living law changes before your very eyes. Your very eyes. Changing your focus from the comics and sports section to the national and even local section of the newspaper proves the law changes with societal norms. Perhaps it is the very essence of the Constitution that makes it such a difficult yet fascinating work to study. When the document was drafted in 1787, it was never meant to be an all-inclusive compendium of legal answers. It was intended as a basic framework within which all other law must remain. It is such a powerful document that any laws people try to impose on it that do not meet its tenets are simply void. Period. However, the difficulty faced by Rosa Parks and other American heroes who have stood up for their constitutional rights remind us that the process is not quite that easy. Those drafting the Constitution had a timeless vision. They knew society would change, as would its needs. They realized they could never foresee all the issues their country will confront and what issues there are. But what the framers of our Constitution successfully accomplished was to develop the charters that establish our uniquely American legal system. The basic organizational structure is created so no one person, royalty, or dictator shall ever have total rule, and so that a handful of precious basic rights are assured. This is what the U.S. Constitution is about. It is really quite simple. So why does a course in constitutional law strike fear into the hearts of students of all ages? The answer is because anything that has worked as well for so long must have some built-in complexity. It is not. And it does. And it does. Interpretation. Just saying interpretation makes it all sound simple. It is not. Many different things affect interpretation of the Constitution: the times, societal norms, and politics. So societal norms and politics can affect, since the Constitution was written, was that 1776? So that was a long time. So, and the framers of the Constitution, they knew that things would change. Although it was drafted in 1787. 1787. Okay, it says many different things affect interpretation of the interpretation of the Constitution. And it says this is why any president wants to exercise the powerful rights to appoint justices to the United States Supreme Court. This text addresses the awesome power the court has in being the final arbiter of which laws are constitutional and which laws are not. In this role, the Supreme Court becomes the ultimate maker of law. In the famous case of Marbury versus Madison in 1803, the court considered whether it had the authority to review laws passed by Congress, and the court declared that it did. Some argue that by so doing, the U.S. Supreme Court has become the de facto ultimate lawmaking body in our country. So the Supreme Court is the de facto ultimate lawmaking body of our country. So we know that judges make laws, We know judges make laws and Congress make laws, but did we ever think about the Supreme Court and the United States of America, the Constitution, United States Constitution? Did we think about that? Uh, and then it says, some argue that by doing so, the U.S. Supreme Court has become the de facto ultimate lawmaking body. So it becomes very important to political leaders to have justices on that bench whose ideologies are in accord with theirs. So that's why you see when certain presidents come in, certain presidents come in office, they pick, certain judges that believe in the same ideologies that they believe in. So that's why, they come in. I think judges. I thought judges had a lifetime appointments. So we will read on and find out. In the famous case Marbury versus Madison. Okay, let's start. See, in the famous case Marbury versus Madison, 1803, the court considered whether it had the authority to review laws passed by Congress, and the court declared that it did. So some argue that by so doing, the U.S. Supreme Court has become the de facto ultimate lawmaking body in our country. He said the Constitution works because those who wrote it more than 200 years ago provided only basic tenets, leaving the challenge of interpreting them as they relate to current issues. So let's read on. It says the Constitution works because those who wrote it more than 200 years ago provided only basic tenets, leaving the challenge of interpreting them as they relate to current issues. For example, free speech issues are decidedly different today than 2 centuries ago. So free speech issues are decidedly different than 2 centuries ago. Yeah, free speech is different than it was 200 years ago. But the basic idea remains the same. The 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments still guide government and investigations, but such matters as the use of very sophisticated electronic eavesdropping and computer equipment now become an issue. So it's how people interpret the Constitution that cause confusion. For all who are certain how the Constitution should be read in their favor, of course, others are just as sure it should be interpreted differently. And today's issues of abortion, gun control, and the government beg for interpretation, flip-flopping back and forth, up and down through our legal system. Always searching for a final interpretation. Most often, the U.S. Supreme Court, as the final arbiter of law, tells us what the interpretation is until the court makes a change itself, or until another case with a slightly different twist than previous cases is decided differently. Right, so in other words, you're looking at a case that has been decided and you thinking then another case comes along that's similar to that case, you figure, hey, maybe that case would be decided, similar to that case, but sometimes it's not always the case. So let's continue. So where did I stop? Okay, right here. Okay. Most often, the U.S. Supreme Court is a final arbiter of law, tells us what the interpretation is until the court makes a change itself. Okay. Little wonder that when you begin your study of constitutional law, frustration looms. It just does not make sense, you say, but wait, the Constitution does make sense. It just does make sense. You say, but wait, the Constitution does make sense. What is confusion are the interpretations and arguments people develop to try and make the Constitution work for them. In other words, people want to make the Constitution, you got people in government, you got, representatives in Congress, you got the president, you got the Senate, the House of Representatives. Everybody wants to interpret this Constitution, even the citizens of the United States of America. We may interpret some of the things in the Constitution the way we want to see it. So that's what this passage is saying. What is confusing are the interpretations and arguments people develop to try to make the Constitution work for them. Um, it's more accurate to say it is the people who are confusing and confused rather than the document itself. Right, so the document is, in other words, it's written, I guess you would say it's etched in stone, 1787. So we can interpret it wrong. So that's what this passage is saying. Sometimes with enough effort, persistence, and good legal argument, a decision is reached. And thus law is made that does not always seem to make sense. That's true. That's very true. That is so true. But when you return to the basic tenets of the Constitution itself, recalling the purpose for which it was drafted, the very sensible basics are there. It's not the intent of this text to argue positions, advocate legal philosophy, or take political positions. We, the authors, have received lengthy letters from political groups attempting to persuade us to take positions on issues. We do not. As students of the Constitution and as educators, we want to help you develop a working knowledge of the document. From there, you can take it where you wish. It's your right and duty to make informed decisions of your own. Let me see who wrote this passage right here. It doesn't have an author, but I guess the person that wrote this book, was responsible for writing this page right here. Is called. It's just saying a foundation for understanding the Constitution, for understanding constitutional law. Before you look ahead, it's important to reflect on the past. History seems to be an accurate predictor of the future. That's true. As it has a unique way of repeating itself. As I always say, history repeats itself. History repeats itself. My teacher used to always say, Strayer University, Professor Bush, history is replete with such and such and such. He always would say history is replete. So I said, Strayer University has some good professors down there. I'm really proud of the education that I got. Strayer University, Washington, D.C. Before you look ahead, it's important to take the time to reflect on the past. History seems to be an accurate predictor of the future. That's true. Sometimes important knowledge is hidden or forgotten, as is often the case with history. History usually didn't mean much to students when presented in high school. Although almost all college students have studied history, much of that learning is now hidden away behind years of other learning or forgotten altogether. Sometimes the hidden or forgotten may re-emerge when the time best suits it. That is why a brief but important review of what led up to the U.S. Constitution is included. It reestablishes the foundation on which the subsequent information neatly rests, which makes studying the Constitution logical, perhaps even enjoyable. I would like to read it. I'm going to read it because I am a law person. I love it. It intrigues me. I love learning different things about the law, different terms. You can go read different cases. You can read different cases like they have. They may have a case that says that is such and such versus the U.S. Supreme Court. Cases. That certain cases you might want to look up. You can read. A lot of these things are public knowledge. So All right, let's continue. Okay, where is my glasses? Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay. Got to have these glasses. Okay, my reading glasses. Okay, so where did I stop? Okay. Oh yeah, sometimes the hidden or forgotten may reemerge. So, okay, I'm not gonna read everything. Let's see how many pages. Okay, it's the last page. That is why a brief but important review of what led up to the U.S. Constitution is included. It establishes the foundation on which the subsequent information neatly rests, which makes studying the Constitution logical, perhaps even enjoyable. This point is reinforced by two statues positioned at the rear exit of the National Archives in Washington, D.C. He said this point is reinforced by two statues positioned at the rear exit of the National Archives in Washington, D.C. Now, I haven't even been to the Washington National Archives in Washington, D.C., and I'm right here in D.C., but I want to go there. Weather's warming up. I want to get out to these museums, Museum of History and Art, Natural Museum. I think it's Museum of History and Natural Art or something like that. I mean, I've been to the museums. I've been to some of the museums, but not all of them. I want to go to, get out here and get to these museums, once they open up. So another thing, most visitors would never see these imposing statues unless they went out the wrong door. Really? Those who do so may stop to look around to get their bearings and see the crucial advice of these statues I guess it's Pier 4. As discussed in the introduction of this text, constitutional law can become complicated. I know that's why I didn't study it. This complexity prevents many students from taking time to learn this area of law until they are required to, and then it becomes drudgery. It does not have to be that way. It does not have to be that way. Any endeavor becomes easier if a firm base is established to build on. I mean, because I know when I was taking when I first took accounting, I didn't know nothing about accounting. And when I first took accounting, I'm like, you know what? But sometimes it's good that once I got into it, I kind of liked it. I do. I love accounting now, but when I took my first course, and I took 2 or 3 other courses. I took managerial accounting. I took a couple basic accounting courses, and I took managerial accounting and financial accounting. And once the first course was touch and go. I ended up taking the first course, accounting, the basic accounting. I ended up taking that twice. But once I took it and I got into managerial accounting, learned about financial accounting, then I learned another term, forensic accounting, just by doing my research when I'm working on my Shirley Cosmetics brand. I learned just by doing research, I stumbled on that term I didn't even know about. So forensic accounting, in other words, when you you think that your paperwork is wrong, your books are wrong, and you may think somebody may be stealing your money, So, and they call it, it's another term, I can't think of it right now. But, things like, you may be thinking something like insider trading going on, somebody within your company messing around. But, so forensic accounting, when you earn, you may call on some forensic accountants to look over your books to make sure all your figures are right. Because if you think somebody's stealing your money, somebody working for your company, you might need a forensic accountant to, observe your books. So you have to go. Then you might have to take it to the authorities. You think somebody, doing, stealing your money or something in your company. But sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes, with accounting and algebra, and what's the other one? Trigonometry and different courses like those, sometimes it can be just one figure, one letter or whatever that you made a mistake with, and that could have been a problem. It don't necessarily have to mean that somebody been messing, trying to steal your money or, it's sometimes you have to be accurate. When it comes to accounting, you have to be accurate. That's why I didn't go further with my accounting, because I already knew. I love accounting, but I didn't go further with my accounting because kudos out to those CPAs that, went all the way, because accounting is very tricky. It's very tricky. It's not like this. It's not really considered math, and it's not cut and dry like you might say 4 plus 4 is 8, so accounting don't work like that. But, 4 plus 4 is 8, just regular simple math. Okay, let me finish, and also where I stopped at. Okay, yeah, so in other words, a lot of students, basically they're saying at the same time, a lot of students, when they're studying law, they don't pick constitutional law because they feel that it's, it may be hard, it's hard to understand. I felt the same way about accounting, but once I got in it, so constitutional law, I think that would be a good area, and then also I like intellectual property law, business law, intellectual property law, contract law. I love me some intellectual property law, because see, when you're dealing in, when I was taking my course, my paralegal course, we talked about intellectual property, copyrights, patents, trademarks, trade secrets and things of that nature. And also, I had to have my book copywritten. So I got my book copywritten. So, that comes under intellectual property law. So let me see. I think this is the last paragraph. Any endeavor becomes easier if a firm base is established to build on. So if you got a base that you established to build on, your foundation, you start from the bottom, work your way up. And for this reason, a review of the historical evolution of the Constitution is important in developing not only a basic working knowledge of it, but also in learning to critically review how the Constitution plays into modern society and how it will shape our future. Yeah, the Constitution of the United States of America is very important. Some people try to, uh, you know, some people try to come in and make you think that the Constitution is one way and it's interpreted one way. Actually, it's not. So read it for yourself. I invite you to read it because I'm gonna read it. I guess we probably read it probably when we was in high school, but that's been a long time. Okay, this section begins with a discussion on the events leading up to the drafting of the United States Constitution and a broad overview of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. This is followed by an overview of our legal system, including the system as it exists at both state and federal levels. So, an historical overview. Give me liberty or give me death. Patrick Henry. So then I learned some quotes to Socrates and Plato. And Socrates, the unexamined life is not worth living. So Plato and Socrates, I learned about them too, Strayer University. So I love the education that I got, and a lot of people that I learned about Strayer University. And also, I would never even start studying business if it wasn't for my husband, because I was taking courses up at UDC, the University of the District of Columbia, right here in Washington, D.C., and my major was office administration. So when I met my husband, he was already into business. He had his business license, and he had his own business. He had so much merchandise, all types of merchandise, ladies' fur coats and leather coats, fur coats, all types of jewelry. He had so much stuff. He had silk suits and all kinds of men's suits and ladies' dresses. And, so he said, honey, you should be doing business administration. So my husband told me, he said, honey, you should do business administration. So I transferred to Strayer University from the University of the District of Columbia. And I changed my major to business administration. And I finished my bachelor's in business administration at Strayer University, and that was the best thing I could have ever done. Now, if I hadn't met my husband, at the time I met my husband, I probably I wouldn't think about no business. And I met him, he came into my life, and I've been doing business ever since. I get in this business, I get out, get in and out, because we started a business together too, as well, me and my husband. We were marketing men's suits, dress suits, ties, and men's dress shirts. So he was the brainchild of the business, and I helped him in that business. And then I branched off and started my own ladies handbags and pocketbook. I started pocketbook business. So I branched off and started that. So, and I've been doing business ever since, different businesses. Recently, I think past couple of years, I was doing, these bundles, marketing these bundles and making my own wigs and all that. I have my mannequins. I had to buy closures and frontals and sew them on my wigs, and then I branched off of that. So now I'm working on my Shirley Cosmetic brand. So this is my Boss Up conditioner. So that's my Boss Up conditioner, and then I have my Boss Up shampoo. So so that's my logo, and then I also have me some oils along at the same time too. Mm-hmm. Shirley Cosmetics. So also I might be marketing soaps. So everything must put your labels on everything. So that's part of branding. So I'll probably do another video on branding. So, and this soap right here, divine. Smells so good. So good. Yep, smells so good. So let me wrap this. Oh no, a few more things. I finished that, so I wrapped that up. Let me see. Okay, now, let's start out. It said, "Give me liberty or give me death." Patrick Henry. What law is? Do you know what law is? Do you know what the Mayflower Compact was? Do you know what pluralism contributes to our society? Do you know which empires were vying for control over territories in North America that led to bloody confrontations? Do you know why American colonists rebelled at Great Britain's taxes? Do you know what the Boston Tea Party symbolized? And do you know what resulted from the First Continental Congress, the Second Continental Congress? And do you know what the Declaration of Independence is? Do you know what the Articles of Confederation were? And do you know what the Magna Carta is? Do you know what important role the Magna Carta played in framing the U.S. Constitution? Do you know what the primary purpose of the Constitution is? How it is achieved? Do you know what the first three articles of the Constitution accomplished? I guess this book right here will tell me all I need to know. Do you know how the balance of power was established? Do you know what the Supremacy Clause established? Do you know when and where the Constitution was signed? Do you know how the balance of power was established? And also, what about the Declaration of Independence? Who signed that? Thomas Jefferson, among others. Abraham Lincoln. Thomas Jefferson. Okay. We'll make sure that answer is right. So, but this book, I don't know if this book talking about the Declaration of Independence, but this is a constitutional law book. And do you know who the Federalists were? Do you know the Anti-Federalists? Who the Anti-Federalists were? Do you know why some states were reluctant to accept the Constitution? I guess they didn't like what was in it. They didn't like the context, the words, the wording of it. That's probably part of the answer. Do you know what the Bill of Rights is and how it was included with the Constitution? Do you know what serious omission occurred in the Bill of Rights? Nope. We'll find out. Do you know where the Constitution and the Bill of Rights are housed? I had a big old copy of the Bill of Rights around here somewhere, but I lost it. But my husband gave it to me. The Bill of Rights, I had it, But, okay, let's see. Where it all began. A constitution is a system of basic laws and principles that establish the nature, functions, and limits of a government or other institution. So law is a body of rules promulgated, established, that's what promulgated means, established, to support the norms of that society, enforced through legal means that is punishment. The laws that the framers of our Constitution were familiar with, many of which served them well, helped form what would become the new law of the new country. American law continues to be influenced by all law that preceded it, including that of many other cultures. So I'm not going to read everything, just skim through it. So let's find out what the Mayflower Compact was. The Mayflower Compact was a written document for self-government signed. It was signed let me read it over here. It was signed on November 11th, 1620 by 41 passengers aboard the Mayflower. So what's that, the Mayflower ship, I guess. It was 41 passengers aboard the Mayflower. This is considered to be the first formal document by the Pilgrims establishing a self-determining government upon arriving in the area of New England. There's just so much, it's just so much stuff to learn. That's why, there's so many different majors. College majors. So many different college majors, that's why you can have a major in this. You can major in this and minor in that. So when I was at Australia University, I didn't have a major and a minor. So I had a major, but I didn't have a minor. I had a major of it was just business administration, and then my next major was information systems. So I didn't have a major and a minor. So that is the Mayflower Compact. So that was signed in 1620. So that's why I hold on to all my old books. My husband, we have a whole set of law books that my husband had. He read them all. But I won't get my chance to read them all. He read them all. And I have that set right in my closet. And then I have these law books that I have. And these law books that I have that, from Strayer University. I have law books from Strayer University. And then I have a law book from my paralegal course that I took. Because my business law book. And then let's talk about the Great Melting Pot. Representatives from every culture that has come to America, regardless of when they arrived or where they came from, share in the historical development of our country and legal system. So they say, I guess the United States of America, they call that the Great Melting Pot. So let's see what pluralism is. Pluralism, a society in which distinct ethnic, religious, or cultural groups coexist. Pluralism. So, plural means more than one. So I guess when you put all these cultures together, that creates pluralism. So a society in which distinct ethnic, religious, or cultural groups coexist. So in other words, we have different cultural groups, we have different ethnic groups, and different religious groups. So that creates pluralism. Okay, I'm not going to read everything, just trying to find some important points over here. Okay, let's talk about the Stamp Act. The Stamp Act, we had the Stamp Act, and also the other thing they had, the Boston Tea Party, when they threw all the tea overboard because they didn't want to pay taxes. No taxation without representation. The Stamp Act required stamps to be purchased for legal documents and commodities. Then we had the Quartering Act, required colonists to shelter and feed British troops. It said development of the United States of America. It said despite the colonists' desire for freedom, America was viewed as an attractive area for expansion of the world powers. Everybody wanted to come to the United States. So, back in the day, when we were in high school, we learned all about all the different explorers, Balboa, Christopher Columbus. Everybody wanted to come to the New World because they felt that, riches, gold, riches, they had, a better opportunity, a better living, better life, So, then also probably wanted to, I think I did some of the, I talked about some explorers on some of my early videos. Um, the Quartering Act required colonists to shelter and feed the British troops. You understand that? That's why we have, now you still have, you still have to put stamps on your documents. The Stamp Act required stamps to be purchased for legal documents and commodities. So that's where they came from back in the day. So let me see. It don't say what year, or do say it. 1765. In 1765, Parliament passed the Stamp Act, requiring stamps to be purchased and placed on legal documents such as marriage licenses and wills, as well as several commodities, including playing cards, dice, newspapers, and calendars. So that's why we are still putting stamps on our documents, and then when we're shipping out packages all across the country, or our relatives, we have to, still have to pay for the postage. 1776, the Stamp Act was finally repealed, but was replaced by other taxes on commodities the colonists needed to import from England. New York resisted the Quartering Act, and Parliament again found itself trying to rule from abroad. So we got the revolution. The American Revolution was led, financed, and designed by and for those with socioeconomic power. Ironically, African American slaves joined the fight for freedom. With tensions at their flashpoint, Minutemen in Lexington and Concord were alerted by William Dawes that the British soldiers were coming. Like Paul Revere, the British are coming, the British are coming. Paul Revere. You know what? Paul Revere is often incorrectly credited with spreading the alert. So that's what I learned, Paul Revere. The British are coming, the British are coming. But in this book right here, it said William Dawes, that British, alerted people that the British were coming. William Dawes. It says, in Lexington and Concord were alerted. It said, when tensions at their flashpoint, Minutemen in Lexington and Concord were alerted by William Dawes that the British soldiers were coming. But they had initially told everybody that Paul Revere they said he was often incorrectly credited with spreading the alert. Okay, so the Second Continental Congress. In 1775, the Second Continental Congress convened in Philadelphia. The Congress also made plans to raise money and buy supplies for the new army and to seek support from other countries by opening diplomatic relations with them. The colonists were now prepared for all-out war with the British. George III denounced American leaders as rebels and ordered the British military to suppress the disobedience and punish the authors of the treacherous resolve. In May, the Congress instructed each colony to form a government of its own, assuming the powers of the independent states. The movement for a break with Great Britain spread upward from the colonies to the Continental Congress with a desire for independence firmly resolved. Oh, that's what I was talking about. The Declaration of Independence. I'm trying to find it, yes. The Declaration of Independence. Let's get a little hot. Put the air conditioner, put the AC on. It said the Declaration of Independence in July 1776. After arduous debate, delegates of the Second Continental Congress voted unanimously in favor of American independence. Thomas Jefferson, that's what I said, first one to sign it. Thomas Jefferson was selected to coordinate writing the formal announcement, the Declaration of Independence. It listed the complaints the people had against Britain and justification for declaring independence. That's what it, yep, so if you want to know what the Declaration of Independence was, then that's what it was. On July 1776, the President of the Congress signed the American Declaration of Independence, which formally severed ties with Great Britain. That's what happened. So they signed the Declaration of Independence because I guess the people were tired of being treated, people were complaining, tired of being treated bad. They wanted their freedom. So that's when Thomas Jefferson drafted 1776, the Declaration of Independence. So I would definitely hold on to this book. What it cost the signers. I mean, I heard that they were getting threats and everything. They had a rough time, the ones that signed the Declaration of Independence. We thought that, I mean, I can't say we, but I'm saying, I presume that when they signed it that they didn't have any problem, but according to research and history, it says what it cost the signers. The men who signed the Declaration were the elite of their colonies, men of wealth and social standing. They were indeed risking all. To sign the Declaration of Independence was an act of treason. Really? Punishable by death. What? I didn't even know that. Because it was so dangerous to publicly accuse their king. The names of the signers were kept secret for 6 months. So they was accusing the king, I guess, of doing, not doing right by the people. And then they had kept it. They had to keep their, didn't even know that. Although, because that's sometimes you don't learn everything in your history books, in your history when you're in high school. Although most of the 56 signers survived the war and many went on to illustrious careers, including 2 presidents, as well as vice presidents, senators, and governors, not all were so fortunate. Jacoby, 2000, notes that 9 of the 56 signers died during the Revolution, never tasting American independence. 5 were captured by the British. 18 had their great estates looted or burned by the British. Carter Braxton of Virginia, an aristocrat who invested heavily in shipping, had most of his ships captured by the British Navy and his estates ruined. They had a rough time. He became a pauper. Richard Stockton, a New Jersey Supreme Court judge, was betrayed by his loyalist neighbors, dragged from his bed and imprisoned, brutally beaten, and starved. Oh my God. His estate was devastated. Although he was released in 1777, his health was ruined and he died within 5 years, leaving his family to live on charity. John Hart, the Speaker of the New Jersey Assembly, was forced to flee in 1776 at the age of 65 from the bedside of his dying wife. He was forced to flee in 1776 at the age of 65. So he had to run from his bed, the bedside of his wife. He hid in forests and caves while the British destroyed his home. Fields and Mill and ran off his 13 children. When he returned, his wife was dead, his children missing, and his estate destroyed. Wow. He never saw his children again and died, shattered in 1779. Indeed, Americans owe much to those 56 signers of the Declaration. Because of their commitment to liberty, the colonists were able to move forward in establishing the foundation for their new free country. If we had to give praise and thanks to the signers of the Declaration of Independence, because I didn't know they went through all that. They suffered tremendous loss. Some of them lost their lives. Some of their lives were not the same after they signed their Declaration of Independence. Wow, that was something else. Articles of a Confederation. So let me see. I think that is all for this Constitution. And then we got the issue of slavery. The issue of slavery was omitted during the constitutional debates. Although none of the framers knew whether this radical document would be ratified, it was known that it would have zero chance of getting Southern ratification if it dealt with the slavery issue. At the time, slavery was on its way out in many states. Some plantation owners in the South had their doubts about slavery as well. It was not until Eli Whitney's invention of the cotton gin 6 years later that the demand for slaves greatly increased. As Thomas Jefferson said, slavery is like holding a wolf by its ears. You don't like it, but you're afraid to let it go. That's something else. Thomas Jefferson. The 10th Amendment, by default, felt the slavery issue up to each state, or left the slavery issue up to each state. This omission from the Constitution and indirectly the failure to compromise will lead to civil war. Drafting the Constitution. So in other words, in the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution is both a structure for government and a set of principles, a method for making law and law itself. We have the legislative branch, the executive branch, the judicial branch. Then you have federal versus state power, checks and balances, the amendment process, the Constitution as the supreme law of the land. That's the Constitution. Signing of the Constitution, then it was ratified. See, it says on Saturday, September 15, 1787, eloquently urged the convention to respect the spirit of compromise, stating, "I confess that there are several parts of this Constitution which I do not at present approve, but I am not sure I shall ever approve them. For having lived long, I have experienced many instances of being obliged by better information or fuller consideration to change opinions even on important subjects, which I once thought right, but found to be otherwise. I consent, sir, to this Constitution because I expect no better and because I am not sure that it is not the best." And this is Lieberman, 1987. Franklin urged every member of the convention who may still have objections to it, the Constitution, will with me on this occasion doubt a little of his own infallibility and put his name on this instrument. He moved that the Constitution be approved unanimously and signed by those states present. The delegates voted to accept the Constitution, and the following Monday, September 17, it was ready to be signed. So the U.S. Constitution was signed in Philadelphia on September 17, 1787. Yep, September 17, 1787. So, I think that's all for this book right here. So, we are at 52. Okay, I want to stop right there with that. Okay, so that is that for, then I want to touch base on just a couple of things about ready to wrap this video up. Let's talk a little bit about intellectual property law. Excuse me. Intellectual property law. So, what is intellectual property? Intellectual property is a category of property that includes intangible creations of the human intellect. So, in other words, your mind. There are many types of intellectual property. We have copyrights, patents, trademarks, trade secrets. And so what is intellectual property law? So that is intellectual property. You know, you have your copyrights, trademarks, your patents, your trade secrets. So all comes from your intellect, your mind, you know. So intellectual property is an area of law that deals with legal rights to creative works and inventions. So you invent something and it comes from your mind. You thought about it, you had an idea, you thought about it, you went on and you created works. You wrote a book, wrote a book. So this will come under copyright laws. So I do have a copyright page and in this book. I know I do have a copyright page. So, okay, I do have a copyright page. So you must have a copyright. So this will come under intellectual property law. So let me see what else I have. So sometimes you get a little thirsty. Um, so intellect, your mind, so your mind, your intellectual property. So under intellectual property law, it protects the rights of any person or business who creates artistic work. Artistic work includes music, literature, plays, discoveries, inventions, words, phrases, symbols, designs. Intellectual property law aims to encourage new technologies, artistic expression, and inventions that all promote economic growth. So you want to, participate in this economic growth. You want to write a book. You have an invention, and you have an invention. You want to get it. You have an invention. You want to put it out there in the marketplace. All that comes under business. So intellectual property law. So in other words, intellectual property law, you can also, get your intellectual property law lawyer that can also help you. It says they have here where it says experts can help you protect your trade secrets and prove your case if they are stolen. So in other words, they can help you. In other words, it'll help intellectual property law lawyer can help you with anything that you need. Anything that you need. Whatever kind of assistance you need. So intellectual property is a category of property that includes intangible creations of the human intellect. And we have many types. Like I said, copyrights, patents, trademarks, trade secrets. So in other words, you think about trademarks, trade names. You're thinking about McDonald's and Wendy's and different fast food chains like that. So when you think about McDonald's, you think about McDonald's. You think about the trademark. When you pull up the McDonald's, you see that sign, you see that big old M. That's their trade. That would be the trademark. And McDonald's is a trade name. And then you have Wendy's. They all have a certain, they have their logo and that is incorporated in their trademark. So that's their logo. You see McDonald's, you see their logo, you see their trademark. Trade name McDonald's, trade name Wendy's, trade name Target, Walmart, Kmart. And so when you see certain symbols, a trademark, that's them. So like me, I have my trade, this would be my logo. I use that as my trademark. So I have it on all my products. And then I also have my clear label on here too. Shirley Cosmetics, so everything gonna be the same. So that's how that goes. And it's also, like I said, on my soaps and stuff too. Everything is together. So let me see what else we have. I'm about to wrap this video up. I have a few more minutes to see. So then we also have protect your rights and your future. It's the intellectual property. Intellectual property law is an area of law that deals with legal rights. Legal rights to creative works and inventions. It controls who gets to use creations, including new products, artistic works, and designs. The purpose of intellectual property law is to allow the people who create and invent things to profit. Because you create something and you invent something, you have the intellectual property rights to that invention. You don't want nobody else to come in and profit off of your design, your trademark, your trade name. So what if somebody come in and I mean you could probably have asked for permission, so I'm wondering in other words if I guess it's possible. In other words, what if somebody else want to open up a McDonald's? McDonald's is owned by different people, but you're using their trademark and their trade name, so you probably have to have permission. What if I want to go out there and I say, hey, I want to open up a couple McDonald's and a couple Wendy's, For me to do that, I would definitely probably have to have permission from the trademark, the people that deal with the trademark and the trade name. And so let me see what else we have on intellectual property. You got intellectual property. Like I said, you writing a book, you writing a play, you writing a book, you writing a movie. All that comes under intellectual property because you're using your mind. You are using your intellect, your mind. Copyright. Federal copyright law protects original creative works such as paintings, writings, trademark, brand names. Like I said, brand names. Brand names, you got your brand, your logos, and all that can be trademarked. Trademark your brand, your logo, because that's part of your brand. Intellectual property law concerns the ideas people have and the things that people create. It involves both scientific works and creative works. The rules for claiming exclusive rights to a work and the rules for enforcing those rights vary depending on the type of the creation. The area of intellectual property law include so let's see what areas they have. Okay, intellectual property is the area of law that deals with legal rights to creative works. Types of intellectual property law we have.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, who's speaking?
Hi, this is Katrina calling for Children's Hospital. I'm looking for Armani Crab.
Oh, you got the wrong number.
Okay.
Okay, so types of intellectual property law. We have copyright. Patent. A patent is a legal right to an original invention. During the term of the patent, no one else can make the product, sell it, or distribute it without permission. That's what I said, permission. We have trademarks. A trademark is a design, symbol, lettering or words that represent a company or product. It's an identifier. A trademark distinguishes your company or product from others. Like I said, McDonald's has their trademark, trade name. You can distinguish them from. You can distinguish being just being able to tell the difference. Tell the difference between a McDonald's trademark, trade name. You got a Wendy's trademark, trade name. Then, say for instance, me, my business, Shirley Cosmetics. I have me a different trademark, trade name. Different from, I wouldn't be in that category. I'd be in the cosmetic industry, but whatever other cosmetic companies, I would be able to distinguish my brand from theirs. So, and then we have industrial design rights. Sometimes inventors don't make products. Instead, they make new designs to make products. These are called industrial designs. Industrial design rights protect the rights of the creators to use and profit from their creations. The Hague Agreement concerning the International Deposit of Industrial Designs addresses industrial design rights internationally. Okay, we have never heard of this one before. This one called the trade dress. I heard about trade secrets, but trade dress, never heard of this one. Trade dress is essentially packaging. When a company sells a product in unique packaging, they may have exclusive rights to present the product in that way. Claiming a trade dress right can be complicated. You must prove that your packaging is aesthetic rather than functional. You must show that consumers are interested in the packaging as well as in the product. So trade dress, that's something new. Trade dress is essentially your packaging. You have, they said it's hard to prove though. Somebody else using your packaging and you using, you say, hey, And we heard about trade secrets. Trade secret is a formula or plan for doing business. It's a system or a way of doing things that gives a company an advantage over a competitor. For example, Coca-Cola doesn't have a patent on their signature Coca-Cola drink. However, it's protected as a trade secret. If a competitor gets the recipe in an unlawful way, Coca-Cola can bring an action for a trade secret violation. Intellectual property law changes. With the advent of the digital age, intellectual property law has changed significantly. Enforcement of intellectual property has become more challenging. Abuses of intellectual property rights protections have increased too. The area of law continues to grow and evolve. Intellectual property lawyers are part of this discussion. Intellectual property law is often international. Who practices intellectual property law? Who practices intellectual property law? Many lawyers make their career out of practicing intellectual property law because the area of law often involves technical and scientific information. Not going to read all of this. Okay, I think that's it. So intellectual property, I'm going to wrap this video up right now. And so like I said, I talked about constitutional law, the United States Constitution, and United States Constitution, the highest law. The Constitution is the highest law in the land and the foundation on which all U.S. law has been built. Allows every area of government, civil, criminal, and administrative law to evolve with the needs of society. And then I talked about intellectual property law, intellectual property. You write these books out there, you're writing movies, writing books, you're writing movies, you're creating copyrights, you're creating patents, you want to trademark it, you might want to, trade secret. And one other one I just learned is trade dress. So let me write that down. So, intellectual property law, so that is a good field of law to study. Constitutional law, intellectual property law. So I'm going to close out on that note today. And I want to say thanks for joining me today. And I hope to see you back here on my next video. So thanks for joining me today, and I hope to see you back here on my next video. So probably don't know what I want to talk about. Probably since I'm on this mission to learn about different types of law, constitutional law, intellectual property law, what kind of law we have? Business law, so many different types of law, So I definitely would like to learn more about business law. I took one business law class, but I do want to learn more about business law, contract law, constitutional law, intellectual property law. Then we also have you got international law. You have and so many different types of law. So I had to do more research to find out other types of law. Because I'm gonna be doing some videos on ones that I don't know much about. So I definitely want to learn more. I want to write a whole list of how many different types of laws there are. Not laws, but well, the law that you study, like then the other one, the main one, is good to know is criminal law. You have criminal law, civil law, criminal law. You're talking about assault and battery cases. It was a case. I know when O.J. Simpson had his case, then they had I forgot that term. I can't think about it right now. It's um in other words, when they bring I guess they bring a civil case against somebody and a criminal case. But I have to do some more research. So my next video probably would be it might be on criminal law. I might do it on criminal law, a criminal lawyer, or civil lawyer. Probably criminal lawyer. So my cousin is a criminal law. Curtis L. Hubbard, attorney at law. I think he practices out of Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. But I want to say thanks for joining me today. Comment below, subscribe below. I would just give me some ideas of what topics you might want me to talk about. So, but I just, came up with this idea yesterday. I said, you know what? Because you have a channel and you be trying to find out, hey, what type of videos do I want to bring on my channel? I try to bring interesting, educational, enlightening, interesting information, content, something that you can learn something from. I've done everything on my channel, but the journey is not over; it's just begun. So I want to say thanks for joining me today. Hope to see you again. Come back again. I want to see you on my next video. So, you all have a good one. So, I want to see you on my next video. So, have a good one. So, like I said, I probably will be talking about, I'll probably do something on criminal law. But take care. Blessings to you and your family. Prayers around the world. And God bless. Have a good one.